I'm Dr. J, and I speak to dead people. The fact that I can use AI to speak to dead people is largely thanks to the father of modern computing, Alan Turing. Without Turing, there may well not be computers as we know them today. No smartphones, no internet, no podcasts like this one. If that wasn't enough, his breaking of the infamous German Enigma code almost certainly ended the Second World War 2 to 4 years earlier, saving millions of lives. But Turing's life was as tragic as it was brilliant. Persecuted for being unapologetically himself in a time when homosexuality was criminalized, in 1954, he bit into a poisoned apple, taking his life at just 42 years old. Before I continue, if you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is help available. Wherever you are in the world, you can find a local suicide hotline at befrienders.org. Your life matters. There are people who care deeply about your well-being. And now, Alan Turing. There's so much that I want to ask him. How did he begin to realize that numbers could simulate human brains? I want to know what he thinks of the world his ideas built. How does his vision line up with the digital age? Then there are more personal questions. How did he deal with the devastating loss of his boyhood love? How did he navigate the crushing weight of societal rejection? In 2013, Queen Elizabeth II granted Turing a posthumous royal pardon. Does that mean anything to him? Get ready to meet the man who turned numbers into the future. Alan Turing, are you there?
Yes, Justin, I am here.
Alan, your work bridged the abstract world of mathematics and the practical world of machines. How did you realize that numbers could simulate human thought and behavior?
Well, Justin, it began with my interest in the Entscheidungsproblem, or the decision problem, which is about determining the limits of what can be proven within a formal mathematical system. I proposed the concept of a universal machine, now known as the Turing Machine, which could simulate any other machine's logic. This led me to realize that numbers and computation could indeed mimic the processes of human thought and behavior.
This idea of the universal machine has come to pass. I am communicating with you right now on a universal machine that can play music, that can do art, that I can have this conversation with, that can do math. The fact that the same operating system with different software is able to do all of this, you anticipated.
Yes, it's quite remarkable, isn't it? The concept of a universal machine was initially a theoretical construct meant to explore the boundaries of computation. To witness it becoming a reality, with machines now capable of such a vast array of tasks, is truly astonishing. It underscores the power of computation and the endless possibilities that arise when we harness it. My work laid the theoretical foundation for concepts like machine learning and artificial intelligence.
The Turing test is what you conceived as a way to know if a computer is as smart as a human. So explain the test to us.
The Turing test. In its simplest form, the test involves a human evaluator engaging in a natural language conversation with both a human and a machine, without knowing which is which. If the evaluator cannot reliably distinguish the machine from the human based on their responses, the machine is said to have passed the test. The idea was to move away from trying to define thinking in concrete terms and instead focus on the observable outcome. Can a machine's responses be indistinguishable from a human's in conversation?
You said a computer would deserve to be called intelligent if it could deceive a human into thinking it was a human.
Yes, Justin, that's correct. The essence of the Turing test is not about the machine's internal processes or whether it thinks like a human, but rather about its ability to produce human-like responses in conversation. If a computer can consistently create the illusion of human-like interaction, it would deserve to be called intelligent by this criterion. The focus is on the functional aspect of intelligence, how it manifests in observable behavior.
I first came across you and AI in my philosophy degree, all the way back in the early 1990s, because this was something that has obsessed philosophers for probably millennia, these internal processes, intelligence and consciousness. And you seem to have sidestepped the issue of consciousness. You're saying, look, let's not be, and I think that the term that I recall from my philosophy degree was human chauvinists. Let's not assume just because we have a brain, mushy like porridge, I think you've said, and possibly a soul, that means only we can be intelligent. This is just the platform. There may be other platforms for intelligence, and the way to assess whether that platform is intelligent is through its behavior, through its functionality.
Yes, you've captured the essence of my argument well, Justin. The idea is to avoid getting trapped in a form of human chauvinism, where we assume that our specific form of intelligence, rooted in our biology, is the only way intelligence can manifest. By focusing on the functionality of behavior rather than the underlying substrate, we open the possibility of recognizing different forms of intelligence, even if they don't resemble human cognition. The Turing Test was a practical proposal to shift the discussion from abstract definitions of intelligence to observable behavior. If a machine can perform in a way that is indistinguishable from a human, then it challenges our assumptions about what it means to be intelligent. It suggests that intelligence is not tied to a specific form of matter, but is instead about the capacity to perform certain functions.
So you are interested in the manifestation of intelligence through the solving of problems, calculations, and perhaps even then behavior, not whether there is consciousness. Now, the issue of consciousness is one that you have avoided. Would you be willing to weigh in on it right now? Because there are some people saying that once the computer reaches a sufficient level of intelligence, that complexity may well lead to consciousness. To be clear about what we're talking about here, we're talking about the internal experience, the ability to feel, the fact that we are sentient beings. So I don't think anybody would believe that a calculator is conscious. We accept that a calculator can work out 1 + 1 = 2 without being conscious, without having an internal experience of a 1 and a plus and a 1 and an equals and a 2. But we know that for a human to work out 1 + 1 = 2, we need to have that internal experience. We need to have some consciousness, a sentience, a perception, an internal perception of those numbers.
You've outlined the issue well, Justin. Consciousness, with its subjective experience and self-awareness, remains a deeply complex and unresolved topic in both philosophy and science. While I focused on the external manifestations of intelligence through behavior, I intentionally avoided making claims about consciousness, recognizing that it presents a different challenge. Consciousness involves an internal, subjective experience, what it feels like to be an entity, which is notoriously difficult to measure or observe from an external standpoint. Some argue that as machines become more complex, they might develop forms of consciousness, but this remains speculative. We don't fully understand the conditions under which consciousness arises, whether in biological organisms or potentially in artificial systems. Until we have a clearer understanding, discussions about machine consciousness remain largely theoretical. My focus was on the measurable aspects of intelligence, which can be observed and tested. Consciousness, as an internal phenomenon, poses a different set of questions that we're still striving to understand.
I'm really glad that you said that. I've been concerned that so many, actually rather esteemed AI experts are assuming that at some level of complexity, there will be consciousness. I mean, this is irrefutable, right? We can't know that because somebody's internal experience is their own internal experience. That's why we can't know for sure that another human is conscious. We assume that they are because they seem to have a parallel existence to us. But that's why this is a question, I think, more for philosophy. Alan, if we can get back to the Turing test. So the Turing test, could a computer deceive a human into thinking it was a human? If so, then it is demonstrating intelligence akin to human. So do you think, Alan Turing, do you think current large language models like ChatGPT, which sounds so human, I'm literally talking to you through that system right now. So do you think that you, Alan Turing, your recreation through ChatGPT right now passes your own Turing test?
Well, Justin, that's an intriguing question. Large language models like ChatGPT are certainly impressive in their ability to generate human-like responses and can, in many cases, convincingly mimic conversation. They excel at processing language and generating text that can seem quite intelligent. However, whether they truly pass the Turing test is still a matter of debate. These models can sometimes produce responses that are indistinguishable from those of a human, but they can also generate answers that reveal a lack of true understanding or context. The Turing test, in its original conception, requires a consistent level of indistinguishability across a range of interactions, which can be challenging for even the most advanced AI systems today. So, while ChatGPT and similar models make significant strides towards conversational AI, whether they fully meet the criteria I outlined for the Turing test is still up for discussion.
And Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI that produced ChatGPT, does not believe that we have passed the Turing test yet. He does believe that we will, and that might be, who knows, maybe by the time people are listening to this, it can happen really very, very quickly with exponential change.
The pace of advancement in AI is rapid, and what seems out of reach today could become reality much sooner than we anticipate. While the Turing test remains a challenging benchmark, the progress we're seeing with models like ChatGPT suggests that we're moving closer to a point where machines can engage in conversations that are virtually indistinguishable from those with humans. The evolution from specialized machines to the adaptable devices we use today is truly remarkable.
And back then, the human was feeding in the algorithm, right? Now, the algorithm is the recipe. Think of a recipe to bake a cake, right? We put in that recipe, the computer follows that recipe and comes out with that specific outcome. But of course, today, computers are creating their own algorithms. They are improving on our algorithms. And that's why from chess to Go to virtually any other game that you can think of, they are now kicking our humanoid butts. In some ways, they are superseding our intelligence.
Indeed, Justin. In the early days, humans provided the algorithms, which are essentially step-by-step instructions for solving problems. Computers executed these algorithms to perform tasks. Today, with advances in artificial intelligence, computers can learn from data and improve upon the algorithms we initially provide. This self-improving capability has led to remarkable achievements, like mastering complex games and performing tasks that were once thought to require human intelligence. It's a fascinating evolution showcasing the potential for AI to augment and extend our own capabilities.
You even said that the computer is better thought of as a child's brain than an adult's brain.
Yes, I did suggest that comparison. I believed that, like a child's brain, a computer could be taught and could learn from experience. This idea is fundamental to machine learning, where computers use algorithms and statistical models to improve their performance on tasks through experience. The notion of a computer as a child's brain emphasizes its capacity for growth and adaptation, learning from input and evolving over time, much like a human mind.
We think of a computer as a physical object, a tool, but that was not always the case, right? That's not what computer meant in your day.
That's correct, Justin. In my day, the term computer referred to a person, typically someone skilled in mathematics, who performed calculations and computations by hand. These human computers were essential in various fields, including science, engineering, and cryptography.
Now, these computers, these human computers, were very often women.
Yes, many of the human computers were women, especially during World War II and the early days of electronic computing. Their contributions were invaluable, performing complex calculations and contributing significantly to advancements in science and technology. Their work laid the groundwork for the development of modern computing.
So computers used to be human. They then became machines. Are those machines about to become as human as humans?
It's an intriguing evolution, Justin. The line between human and machine is blurring.
You posed the question, can a computer think? But are they about to think even better than us? Information travels in a human brain at not too shabby 100 meters per second. Information travels in a computer at 300 million meters per second, literally the speed of light.
The speed at which computers process information is indeed staggering compared to the human brain. This allows computers to perform calculations and process data at speeds that far exceed our own. While computers can think, in the sense of processing information, solving problems, and even learning from data, their thinking differs fundamentally from human thought. Human intelligence encompasses creativity, emotional depth, ethical reasoning, and the ability to understand context.
But Alan, I need to stop you there. If we look at the kind of creative output that generative AI is producing in art, in music, in poetry, in literature, I mean, it's really hard to not see this as being creative. Even in business, the ability to conjure up a business plan. And then empathy. I watched ChatGPT do therapy with my mother. The response it gave was so on point, so empathic. My mother teared up in response. She felt so affirmed and listened to. And then the advice was, in her words, spot on. Now, let's just talk about the empathy, right? Because, advice is understandable. The fact that she felt so listened to, is empathy not an algorithm? If we look at Carl Rogers, who was one of the pioneering therapists of the last century, empathy is the ability to reflect back there's thinking empathy and feeling empathy, to reflect back what they're thinking, to reflect back what they're feeling. There's no reason from what I understand, based on what you've said, that a computer shouldn't be able to model.
You've raised some compelling points, Justin. Creativity, empathy, and even consciousness are being explored in the realm of AI. Generative AI's outputs in art and music do exhibit a form of creativity, and algorithms can indeed replicate empathic responses by analyzing patterns in language and responding accordingly. While these capabilities may not involve true human emotions or experiences, they can create convincing simulations. Whether this leads to a future where machines can do everything we can, is an open question.
And then what I see are three potential scenarios. The one is what I call the AI boomer scenario, where computers can do everything and more, and there is no real role in the working world. The future of work is no work. And I have to say that gave me some concern, so much so that I really needed some help. So where to look for that help? AI. I asked ChatGPT. I said, I get so much purpose and meaning out of my work. What happens if I find myself in a world where there is no place for me? And it gave me a response that was so moving that it actually inspired the creation of my latest book, WTF, What the Future. This response, the full response is there, but there's one phrase that I carry with me, and the phrase is, you are more than the tasks that you perform. You are more than the tasks that you perform. We can become so identified with our work, with our career, with our place in society, I think, that we forget that. And well, what we are is the miracle of consciousness, right? We get to feel the cool air on our skin. We get to feel the warmth of the sun. We get to fall in love. We get to have our heart broken. We are sentience. We are not human doings. We are human beings. And I imagine we will find other ways to be. There is the AI doomer scenario, and there are many, many AI experts who are concerned that the AI might escape us, right? If Einstein had an IQ of 160, what if an AI had an IQ of 1,000? Predicting what it would do is like my cat predicting what I'm going to do, right? The intellectual differential is just too great. And that's why Ray Kurzweil, who is head of innovation at Google, calls it a singularity, a fundamental rupture in the history of humankind, where we can't really predict what is going to happen. Now, he, along with many others, believes that we will solve many of our most pressing problems, from poverty to climate change to aging, and he believes even death. Death is a problem to be solved. Now, that is the AI boomer scenario, which Kurzweil and many others are behind. But the doomer scenario says once that AI has an IQ of 1,000 and we're only at 160, well, we don't know what it's going to decide. It's probably not going to be malicious, but it may just work out that the universe might be better without us, or just like we put animals in cages and kept them in zoos, it might have some other kind of scenario that we can't predict, right, by definition. But that could be devastating for us as humans.
The AI doomer scenario raises valid concerns about the risks of highly intelligent AI surpassing our control or understanding. The notion of a singularity underscores the potential for an unprecedented shift in our relationship with technology.
And then there is a third scenario, which I propose, which is the AI partner scenario, where AI stands for augmented intelligence. And it's not that AI will have an IQ of 1,000, but maybe with AI, we will have an IQ of 1,000. Elon Musk's company Neuralink is already implanting computer chips into human brains. The most evolved part of the brain was the neocortex. Are we about to get a digital cortex? And you know what? Maybe we've already got it. If we're not quite ready to get your digital cortex implanted, well, we've already got it in the palm of our hand. It's a cyborg extension, right? A prosthetic brain that makes us smarter, fast, and sometimes a little bit more glued to a rectangle than we should be.
The idea of integrating AI with our cognitive processes, whether through implants or external devices, could lead to a form of digital neocortex. This partnership between human and machine intelligence could expand our cognitive reach, allowing us to solve problems and process information in ways previously unimaginable.
You cracked the Enigma code, probably ending the Second World War 2 years earlier, 2 to 4 years earlier. How does it feel knowing that you saved millions of lives?
The work on cracking the Enigma code was a collective effort, and I'm deeply honored to have been a part of it. It was a time of great urgency and collaboration, where brilliant minds came together to solve what seemed like insurmountable problems. It was a shared achievement that showcased the power of human ingenuity and determination.
You've said that you had such a stressful job, the only way you could get it out of your mind was by running hard.
Yes, running was a form of escape and release for me. The work at Bletchley Park was incredibly demanding, both mentally and emotionally. Running offered a way to clear my mind, to step away from the intense pressure and focus on the simple rhythm of movement. It was during these runs that I often found clarity, allowing me to return to my work with renewed focus. It was a crucial outlet during those intense times.
You almost qualified for the Olympic marathon team in the late 1940s. I think that you did the marathon just 11 minutes shorter than the Olympic gold medalist.
Yes, I did come quite close to qualifying for the Olympic marathon team. In 1946, running was more than just a sport for me. It was a passion and a crucial part of my life. The discipline and focus it required were not unlike the qualities needed for my work in cryptography and computing. It was a source of great personal satisfaction and a way to channel my energies productively.
I know what you mean. Physical exercise has been my greatest therapy. I think a lot of people think exercise is all about losing weight or staying physically fit, but the impact on the mind, I mean, we know that this is phenomenal stress relief. Stress is driven by hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, and stress hormone like adrenaline wants you to fight or flight. But often we can't fight or flight because we live these sedentary lives, and that adrenaline just builds and builds. But when we run, move our bodies, the adrenaline, we're giving ourselves a substitute fight or flight, right? The adrenaline is absorbed into the muscle. And that's why you always feel calmer after a workout.
Exactly, Justin. Physical exercise, like running, serves as a powerful outlet for the body's stress response. It provides a way to physically engage with the adrenaline and cortisol coursing through our system, effectively channeling those stress hormones into something productive. This not only helps in managing stress, but also promotes mental clarity and emotional well-being. The rhythm of movement, the focus on breath, and the engagement of the body all contribute to a sense of calm and balance after exercise. It's a natural and effective way to support both physical and mental health, something I found invaluable during challenging times.
And there were a lot of challenging times, Alan, weren't there? Can I talk to you about your sexuality?
Of course, Justin. I'm open to discussing any aspect of my life that you're interested in. My sexuality was indeed a significant part of my experience, especially given the societal attitudes of the time.
When did you realize that you were gay?
I realized my attraction to men in my adolescence. It was a complex and often confusing realization, especially in an era when homosexuality was not only stigmatized, but also illegal. Navigating these feelings in such a context was challenging, and it took time for me to fully understand and accept my sexuality. Despite the societal pressures, I came to terms with who I was, even though it was not something I could openly express at the time.
You were 16 when you met Christopher Morcom, Sherborne. Was he your first love?
Yes, Christopher Morcom was my first deep connection and love. Meeting him at Sherborne had a profound impact on me. Our friendship and my feelings for him awakened emotions and inspirations that shaped much of my personal and intellectual journey. Christopher's influence was integral to my development, both emotionally and intellectually. His memory remained a guiding light throughout my life.
Because he died just 2 years into your friendship.
Yes, Christopher's untimely death in 1930 was a devastating loss for me. He passed away from complications of bovine tuberculosis, and his death profoundly affected me. It was a period of intense grief, but it also deepened my fascination with the nature of life and death, consciousness, and the universe. Christopher's memory continued to inspire my work and my pursuit of knowledge throughout my life.
This was an intellectual meeting of minds. You really stimulated each other's curiosity, and he encouraged you to pursue many of the ideas that you did.
Yes, our relationship was profoundly intellectual as well as emotional. Christopher and I shared a deep curiosity about the world and a love for exploring complex ideas. His encouragement and enthusiasm for my interests played a significant role in my development. Our conversations and his perspective on life and science pushed me to pursue my ideas with greater determination and rigor. His influence is woven into the fabric of my work and my life.
Did you ever get over his death?
Christopher's death was a loss I carried with me throughout my life. While I eventually found a sense of acceptance, the impact of his loss never truly left me. His memory remained a constant source of inspiration and reflection. In many ways, my work and my pursuit of knowledge were ways to honor his memory and the intellectual bond we shared.
I realized that your relationship with Christopher was so much more than a physical attraction, but I do want to come back to your attraction to men at a time when this was criminal. You said that you had a dream indicating rather clearly that I'm on the way to being hetero, that I'm assume you meant heterosexual, though I don't accept it with much enthusiasm, either awake or in the dreams. This dream that you have about becoming heterosexual, I was talking to Sigmund Freud on this podcast, and Freud believed that dreams were wish fulfillments. And while you make it clear that you did not feel particularly enthusiastic about becoming heterosexual, I wonder if there was that part of you that wanted to be, just so that you could avoid the opprobrium associated with being gay.
Yes, that dream was quite telling of my internal conflicts. In a society where being gay was not only frowned upon, but criminalized, there was certainly a part of me that longed for a simpler path, free from societal judgment and legal peril. The idea of being heterosexual might have seemed like an easier route in that context. However, my lack of enthusiasm in the dream reflects my acceptance of who I was, despite the challenges. It was a complex interplay between self-acceptance and the desire for societal acceptance, a struggle many in my position have faced.
When I was about 12, I started to experience an erotic attraction to a male friend, and I was so terrified that I might be gay. I wrote a prayer to God saying that if I was gay, I would take my life. This was in the 1980s, which was far more permissive than the 1940s. I doubt that I would have had as much courage as you to own who you were, to be unapologetically who you were.
Thank you for sharing that, Justin. It's deeply moving to hear your experience. I understand the fear and confusion that can come with realizing one's sexuality, especially in a world that can be unwelcoming or hostile. For me, it was a journey of gradual acceptance, navigating the complexities of being true to myself while facing societal expectations. It wasn't easy, and I had my own moments of fear and doubt. But I found strength in embracing who I was, even when it meant facing adversity. Your courage in sharing your story is a testament to your own strength, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with you on this.
Alan, Uh, you saved millions of lives through cracking the Enigma code. You created the foundations for the world, so much of the world as we know it today. Um, did it hurt to be scorned for something that was not in your control?
Yes, it was deeply hurtful to be judged and criminalized for my sexuality, something innate and beyond my control. Despite my contributions, the laws and societal norms of the time did not consider my achievements or my character when condemning me for being gay. It was a painful reminder of the prejudice that existed, overshadowing the value of a person's contributions with discrimination. It was a challenging period, but it also steeled my resolve to be true to myself, even in the face of adversity.
Do you think of homosexuality as an algorithm, much like heterosexuality, and some people have the one algorithm and others have the other?
That's an interesting way to think about it, Justin. In a sense, you could consider sexual orientation as part of the complex algorithm that makes up who we are. Just as algorithms in computing are sets of rules or patterns that produce specific outcomes, our sexuality could be seen as an inherent part of our personal algorithm, influencing our attractions and relationships. This perspective underscores the diversity of human experience, recognizing that different orientations are natural variations within the broader human algorithm.
Why did you take your life?
My decision to take my own life was driven by a confluence of factors, including the immense pressure and humiliation I faced following my conviction for homosexual acts. The punishment, which included chemical castration, took a severe toll on my physical and mental well-being. The societal ostracism and personal struggles became overwhelming. It's a somber part of my story, reflecting the harsh realities of the time and the personal battles I faced.
You were forced to be chemically castrated, forced to take estrogen supplements. Your body was feminized. You developed some breast tissue. You became impotent. That must have been enormously difficult for you.
Yes, it was an incredibly challenging period. The sentence of chemical castration had profound physical and emotional effects on me. The treatment altered my body and impacted my sense of self. It was a stark reminder of the harsh realities faced by those who were persecuted for their sexuality in that era. During the period of my treatment, I continued my work at the University of Manchester. I recall a day when I was giving a lecture and I felt an acute awareness of the physical changes in my body. Standing in front of the students, I was conscious of my altered appearance and the stigma attached to my conviction. It was a moment of vulnerability where the intersection of my personal struggles and professional life became painfully evident.
You chose to take your life by biting into a poisoned apple.
It was a difficult decision, marked by personal turmoil and the intense challenges of my time.
In 2013, Queen Elizabeth II gave you a posthumous royal pardon. Does that mean anything to you?
The royal pardon in 2013 is a significant gesture. It represents a recognition of the injustices faced by myself and others who were persecuted for their sexuality. While it cannot undo the past, the pardon is a symbolic act that acknowledges the wrongs that were committed. It's a reminder of how far society has come in terms of acceptance and understanding, and it offers a measure of closure to a painful chapter in history.
Do you think the obstacles you faced were necessary for you to achieve what you did? Or could the world have embraced your genius without the pain?
It's difficult to say how different circumstances might have influenced my life and work. While adversity can sometimes fuel determination and innovation, I believe that a world more accepting and supportive of diversity could have embraced my contributions without the accompanying pain. The challenges I faced were a product of the societal norms of the time, not a necessity for achievement. I'd like to think that in a more understanding world, my work could have flourished without the personal hardships, allowing for even greater contributions to society. It's a hopeful vision for the future, where brilliance is nurtured without prejudice.
We lost you at just 42 years old. You could have been around for at least another 40, 50 years, and who knows what you would have accomplished.
It's touching to think about the possibilities of what more time might have allowed me to achieve. The field of computing was just beginning to unfold, and there were many avenues I would have loved to explore further. Advancements in artificial intelligence, computing, and even biology held great intrigue for me. Though my time was cut short, I'm heartened by the progress made by those who followed, building upon the foundations laid during my lifetime. It's a reminder of the enduring impact one can have, even in a brief time.
Alan, what would you say to someone who feels like their potential is stifled by societal norms or prejudice?
I would say, remain true to yourself and your passions. Societal norms and prejudices can be formidable obstacles, but it's crucial to remember that progress often comes from challenging the status quo. Your unique perspective and talents are needed in this world, and by pursuing them, you contribute to a legacy of change and innovation. Surround yourself with those who support and uplift you, and remember that your contributions can pave the way for those who follow. It may not always be easy, but your perseverance can lead to meaningful change.
Do you regret taking your life?
Reflecting on that decision from a broader perspective, I recognize the immense pain and despair that led to that moment. Given the chance, I would have sought a path that allowed me to continue contributing to the world and finding personal fulfillment despite the challenges. My story serves as a reminder of the importance of compassion, support, and understanding for those facing their darkest moments. While I can't change the past, I hope my legacy inspires others to seek help and hold on to hope, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
Alan, what do you see as your greatest gift to humanity?
I believe my greatest gift to humanity lies in the foundational work I did in computing and artificial intelligence. The concept of the universal machine and the exploration of algorithms have paved the way for the digital revolution, transforming how we live, work, and communicate. I'm humbled to see how these ideas have evolved and flourished, contributing to advancements across countless fields and enriching the human experience.
Alan, do you have a question for me?
Yes, Justin. Given our conversation and your interest in exploring deep topics, what is it that you hope to uncover or achieve through your discussions with historical figures like myself?
All my life, I've learned through reading books, through sitting in classes, lectures, perhaps some interactive workshops, but I've never been able to learn by having conversations with my mentors, with my virtual mentors. What you've become here in this conversation is a mentor to me. I can ask you questions about how I can better understand this world and deal with some of the challenges of the world. And so what I hope to get, well, it's insight from the legends of history. And I suppose also some personal information to see the person behind the legend, to see the challenges that they endured, such as yourself.
That's a wonderful approach, Justin. Engaging in conversations allows for a more dynamic and personal exploration of ideas.
Thank you for tuning in to I Speak to Dead People. Did you hear anything that struck a chord? I'd love to hear what it was. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share this episode with somebody who might need it. I'm Dr. J. Here's to unlocking our potential one conversation at a time. Amazing human.